Imagine this. You're lost in a vast, unfamiliar wilderness. The sun is setting, casting long, eerie shadows across the dense undergrowth. The temperature is dropping rapidly, and a bone-chilling wind whispers through the trees. You're thirsty, your stomach is growling, and the cold is starting to seep into your bones. Your heart pounds in your chest, a frantic rhythm against the silence of the wilderness. Your survival depends on one thing, your preparedness. Preparedness is your secret weapon in the wild. It's not about the fancy gear you have strapped to your backpack, but the knowledge and skills you carry within you. Knowing how to find water, build a fire, source food, and create shelter in extreme conditions can be the difference between life and death. It's about outsmarting the elements, staying one step ahead of the challenges nature throws your way. The wilderness doesn't care if you're a seasoned adventurer or a weekend hiker caught off guard. It's unforgiving and indifferent, a harsh mistress that demands respect. So the question is, are you ready to face the wild? Are you prepared to survive? We've all experienced that dry, scratchy feeling in our throats after a long day in the sun. Now amplify that feeling tenfold. Picture yourself in the heart of the wilderness, miles from civilization, with that same parched throat. That, my friends, is why water is your absolute #1 priority in a survival situation. You can only survive about 3 days without it. Let me tell you, that's not a statement meant to scare you, but rather a wake-up call to underscore the absolute importance of this life-giving element. Water is essential for more than just quenching your thirst. It's crucial for maintaining hygiene, preventing dehydration, and even cooking. Without water, your body starts to shut down, your energy levels plummet, your mind becomes foggy, and your ability to make rational decisions deteriorates. I've been there, and it's not a pretty sight, but here's the good news. Water is all around us, even in the most arid environments. The key is knowing where to look and how to collect it. Desperation can lead to bad decisions. You don't want to be caught drinking contaminated water and succumbing to a nasty bout of dysentery. That's a surefire way to ruin your day, not to mention your chances of survival. One of the first things I do when I'm in a survival situation is to scout out potential water sources. Look for areas with lush vegetation, follow animal tracks, and listen for the telltale sound of running water. These are all signs that water is nearby. Once you've found a potential source, the next step is to purify it. Now, you don't need fancy equipment to purify water in the wild. Remember, improvisation is key. You can boil water over a fire, use a piece of cloth to filter out sediment, or even leave water in a clear plastic bottle exposed to sunlight for UV purification. These simple techniques can mean the difference between staying hydrated and succumbing to dehydration. Remember, finding and purifying water should be at the top of your survival to-do list. It's the most vital element for your survival, and mastering this skill will significantly increase your chances of making it out of the wild. So, pay attention to the signs, trust your instincts, and never, ever underestimate the power of a good drink of water. Imagine this. The sun has dipped below the horizon, casting long, cold shadows across the wilderness. The temperature is plummeting, and a damp chill seeps into your bones. You're shivering uncontrollably, your teeth chattering like a percussionist in an offbeat band. That's where fire, the second pillar of survival, comes into play. Fire is more than just a source of warmth. It's a beacon of hope in the darkness. It provides a sense of security and comfort, a psychological boost that can be just as important as its physical benefits. It's your means to cook food, purify water, signal for help, and keep those pesky predators at bay. But starting a fire in the wild is no walk in the park. It's a skill that requires practice, patience, and the right knowledge. Finally, you'll need larger pieces of wood to keep the fire going once it's established. Mastering the art of fire starting is an essential survival skill, so embrace the power of fire and let its life-giving flames guide you through the darkest of nights. We've all felt that familiar pang of hunger, that gnawing emptiness in our stomachs that signals it's time to refuel. Now, imagine that feeling amplified in a survival situation where your next meal isn't as simple as raiding the refrigerator. In the unforgiving wilderness, finding food becomes a relentless pursuit, a constant battle against dwindling energy reserves. While you can survive for weeks without food, your energy levels and health will deteriorate rapidly. Your body needs fuel to function, to keep your heart pumping, your lungs breathing, and your brain sharp. Without adequate nutrition, your strength and resilience will dwindle, making the challenges of survival seem insurmountable. But here's the thing. The wilderness is teeming with edible plants, insects, and animals just waiting to be ethically harvested and transformed into survival sustenance. The key is knowing what to look for, how to prepare it, and most importantly, having the stomach to eat it. Remember, survival isn't always pretty. You might have to swallow your pride and embrace the less conventional food sources. Forget gourmet meals and five-star restaurants. We're talking about grubs, berries, and if you're lucky, the occasional small game. Before you start munching on every wild mushroom you find, remember that not everything in nature is a culinary delight. In fact, some plants and berries can be downright deadly. That's why it's crucial to learn about edible and poisonous plants in your region before venturing into the wild. Look for plants with familiar characteristics like clover, dandelion, and cattail. These are all edible and can provide valuable nutrients. Insects, while not the most appetizing meal, are a great source of protein. Look for ants, grubs, and grasshoppers, but avoid brightly colored insects, as they are often poisonous. If you're lucky enough to have a fishing kit or snare traps, you might be able to catch fish or small game. Remember to always practice ethical hunting and fishing, taking only what you need and respecting the delicate balance of nature. Finding food in the wild is a skill that requires knowledge, patience, and a bit of resourcefulness. But with the right mindset and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone, you can find sustenance in even the most challenging environments. Imagine this: the wind is howling like a banshee, rain is lashing down in icy sheets, and the temperature is plummeting towards freezing. You're exposed, vulnerable, and the cold is seeping into your bones. In this moment, shelter becomes more than just a roof over your head. It becomes your sanctuary, your fortress against the relentless assault of the elements. In extreme conditions, shelter can mean the difference between life and death. It provides protection from the scorching sun, the biting wind, the torrential rain, and the chilling cold. A well-built shelter can regulate your body temperature, provide a sense of security, and boost your morale in the face of adversity. But building a shelter in the wild is no easy feat. It requires ingenuity, resourcefulness, and a keen understanding of the surrounding environment. You need to factor in the terrain, the weather conditions, and the materials available to you. The simplest form of shelter is a natural shelter, like a cave, a rock overhang, or a fallen tree. These provide immediate protection from the elements and require minimal effort to make habitable. However, natural shelters are not always readily available, and you might need to get creative. A debris hut is a classic survival shelter that can be built using natural materials found in most environments. Start by finding a sturdy branch or leaning a large log against a tree to create a frame. Then, pile leaves, branches, and other debris on top to create a waterproof and insulated shelter. If you're in a wooded area, you can build a lean-to shelter by propping a large branch against a tree and covering it with bark, leaves, or a tarp. This type of shelter provides excellent protection from wind and rain. The key to building a successful shelter is to think like a minimalist architect. Use only what you need, prioritize functionality over aesthetics, and always test the structural integrity of your shelter before settling in for the night. Building a shelter is an essential survival skill that can protect you from the elements and increase your chances of survival in the wild. So, embrace your inner builder, get creative with your surroundings, and there's no place like a well-built shelter when you're facing the wrath of Mother Nature. Water, fire, food, and shelter, these are the 4 pillars of survival, the cornerstones of human resilience in the face of nature's raw power. Each element is a lifeline, a critical piece in the intricate puzzle of survival. The absence of even one can cast a long dark shadow over your will to live, plummeting your survival odds in a crisis. Remember, survival is not just about gathering supplies or learning skills by rote. It's about understanding the profound importance of each of these elements and how they interconnect to form a web of life-sustaining support. It's about respecting the delicate balance of nature, adapting to its ever-changing rhythms, and harnessing its resources with wisdom and gratitude. Mastering these 4 essentials ensures you can withstand the rigors of extreme conditions, but more importantly, it instills a deep-rooted confidence, a belief in your ability to overcome adversity. Preparedness is not just about having the skills but understanding the criticality of each element in your survival strategy. So, go forth, embrace the wild, and the will to survive burns brightest when fueled by knowledge, preparation, and an unyielding respect for the power of nature.